It's past midnight. You should be asleep. You know you should be asleep, but something in you refuses. Not because you're not tired, you're exhausted, but the moment the house goes quiet, something wakes up. You wake up, and for the first time all day, you feel like yourself. The day moved without you, not through you, without you. Meetings, messages, tasks that belonged to someone else's agenda. You smiled when you were supposed to smile. You answered when you were supposed to answer. You performed the version of yourself that the day required. And somewhere inside all of that, the real you went quiet. Psychologists call this self-continuity threat. When your sense of who you are gets interrupted by external demands long enough, the mind begins to panic, quietly, invisibly. It starts looking for windows, not literal ones, windows of time that belong to no one, where no one needs anything from you, where the self can finally exhale. And it finds one at 2 a.m. Researchers call this revenge bedtime procrastination, the act of staying awake not out of insomnia, but out of a desperate need to reclaim something that the day took from you. It's not a discipline problem. It's not laziness. It's a psychological protest. You are not broken. You are not self-destructive. You are doing something the brain has always done. Searching for territory, searching for a space where identity is allowed to exist without negotiation. In psychology, this is tied to autonomy need theory, the idea that human beings require a basic sense of control over their own time and experience. When that need goes unmet for long enough during the day, the nervous system collects the debt and it charges it at night. The late night hours become a sanctuary, not because midnight is magical, but because midnight is yours. Here is what's actually happening in the brain. During the day, your prefrontal cortex, the part responsible for planning, compliance, and social performance, runs almost constantly. It's monitoring, it's managing, it's keeping you appropriate. This is exhausting in a way that doesn't show up on your face. It's called ego depletion, the gradual drain of cognitive and emotional resources required to regulate yourself in social environments. By evening, the prefrontal cortex is tired. But here's what's interesting. The parts of the brain associated with imagination, memory, and self-referential thought, the default mode network, those come alive when external demands fall away. This is why your best ideas come in the shower, why you finally figure out what you actually feel only once the noise stops. Late at night, with no performance required, your default mode network finally gets the floor. You start thinking thoughts that are actually yours. You feel things you didn't have space to feel. You become, briefly, the author of your own inner life. And so you stay, not because you don't know it's late, but because leaving feels like abandoning the only version of yourself that showed up all day. The answer isn't to simply go to bed earlier. That treats the symptom. The work is restoring psychological ownership throughout the day, so midnight doesn't have to carry all of it alone. Step 1. Name the theft. Start noticing what the day takes from you, not in a resentful way, in a clinical, curious way. Which parts of today felt like you? Which parts felt like a performance? Awareness is the first act of reclamation. Step 2. Create a micro-sanctuary. Find one 10-minute window during daylight hours that belongs entirely to you. No productivity, no output, no goal, just presence. Research on psychological detachment shows that even brief periods of true disengagement from role demands significantly restore the sense of self-continuity. You are not training yourself to be lazy. You are training the brain to trust that the self doesn't have to wait until 2 a.m. to exist. Step 3. Give the night a beginning. The reason late-night procrastination persists is partly because it has no structure. It's an open field, and open fields feel like freedom. But you can create a ritual that begins the night, a signal that says, "This time is mine," not to be productive, not to decompress by consuming, but to be present with your own thoughts. Journaling, quiet sitting, a slow walk, something that lets the default mode network do what it came here to do, without keeping you awake until 3 a.m. doing it. Step 4. Renegotiate the day. This is slower work, but it's the most important. Look at where your days are structured entirely around external expectations, and ask honestly, where have I disappeared from my own life? Not dramatically, just quietly. Autonomy doesn't require grand gestures. It requires small, consistent acts of choosing what you read, what you say no to, how you spend the margin. Step 5. Sleep as an act of trust. The reason going to bed feels like a loss is because the self doesn't trust that tomorrow will give it space. And sometimes that's accurate. But the solution to a day that took too much is not a night that takes the body. It's building enough presence into the daylight hours that the night no longer has to hold everything. Here is the model to carry with you. Think of your sense of self as a candle. During the day, external demands cup their hands around it, not to protect it, but to block the wind they created. The candle burns, but smaller. At night, the hands fall away. The flame rises, and you feel it. That's not pathology. That's the self proving it's still there. The work isn't to stop going to bed late. The work is to let the flame burn during the hours when it's been told to stay small. There is nothing wrong with loving the quiet hours. There is nothing weak about needing time that is fully your own. But you deserve that time in a body that isn't running on borrowed rest. You deserve to feel like yourself, not as a reward at the end of the day, but woven through it. The late-night version of you, the one who finally relaxes, finally laughs at something small, finally thinks a thought that belongs to no one else. That version doesn't only exist at midnight. It was always there, waiting for a little space. Give it space, earlier than 2 a.m., and watch what it does with the light.